My ex said I was too basic for a boyfriend and dumped me, but when she came back broken begging, my answer made her break down in tears. If you ever want to see what pure ego looks like wearing thrift store earrings and paint-stained jeans, date a self-proclaimed artist. That was Claudia, my ex. 9 months of my life went to someone who thought hanging string lights counted as interior design, and that every minor inconvenience was the universe testing her creativity. She worked part-time at a cafe, spent the rest of the time pretending to work on a novel, and called it her creative journey. I fix machines for a living. Real work with grease, noise, deadlines, and people who actually pay you. She once said my job was cute, like I was running a lemonade stand instead of keeping her washing machine running and our rent paid. At first, I thought the artsy stuff was interesting. She was passionate and always talking about energy and expression. But after a while, I realized she didn't actually finish anything. Every project was just a concept. Every failure was someone else's fault. And she looked down on anyone who wasn't living a bohemian lifestyle, which basically meant she could fail at things without being judged. Lately, she'd been acting weird, colder, distant. You know that gut feeling when someone's building up to a speech? That was her. Fewer texts, more snark. Every time I came home from the shop, she'd be on the couch scrolling through art blogs, sighing dramatically, like she was trapped in a life she didn't sign up for. That night, a Tuesday, because dramatic people love doing serious stuff on boring days, she finally went into performance mode. She waited until I sat down, then put her phone away and looked at me with that fake deep stare she used when she wanted to sound like a poet instead of a person. "Thomas," she said, like she was addressing a child, "I've been thinking a lot about us." Uh-oh, the famous opener. She started pacing, talking about how she needed to grow, how our relationship felt stale, and how she wanted to feel passion again. She used more buzzwords than a motivational poster. Then came the line she must have practiced in the mirror 100 times. "You're too basic for me. I need someone with passion and depth, but we could still be friends." She paused like she had just dropped the greatest plot twist in cinematic history. Before I could even blink, she doubled down. "You're too basic for a boyfriend, but good to keep as a friend." I had to bite the inside of my cheek not to laugh. She said it like she was doing me a favor, like getting demoted to friend was a promotion in the Claudia universe. What she didn't realize was I'd seen this coming. The fake existential sighs, the "I just need space to create" crap. I knew she was going to pull this stunt. I just didn't expect her to sound like a self-help podcast while doing it. She waited for me to say something. Probably expected tears or a dramatic "I can change." Instead, I leaned back on the couch, nodded slowly, and said, "Absolutely." Her face dropped like I had just spoiled her ending. "Wait, what?" she said. "Yeah," I replied. "Friend sounds great." Her eyebrows pulled together. "That's it?" she asked. "Pretty much," I said. "You're the one with passion and depth, right? You should probably go explore that." She blinked like her brain couldn't compute it. She'd built this whole breakup up in her head, the crying, the begging, the emotional closure. Instead, I gave her nothing. No fight, no lecture, just silence, and the faint sound of her ego deflating. Then I stood up, walked to the bedroom, and started pulling my stuff from the dresser. "Wait, what are you doing?" she asked, following me. "Packing," I said. "You wanted to focus on your art, right? I'm just giving you the space to do that." Her tone shifted fast, confusion, then panic, then anger. "You can't just leave. We have an apartment." "You have an apartment," I corrected. "Lease is under your name, remember? You said it made you feel independent." She froze. That detail hadn't aged well. "But you can't just move out," she said, like there was a rule against it. "I think I can," I replied, folding shirts calmly. "You're the creative one. Create a new roommate." She looked at me like she couldn't tell if I was serious. That's when I realized something. She genuinely thought I'd stay. She'd planned this whole breakup to keep me as her emotional and financial support system, just without the relationship part. She thought she'd break upwards. When she realized I wasn't arguing, her voice softened into that fake sweet tone she used when she wanted to manipulate. "Thomas, come on, don't be petty. We can still hang out, still talk." "Sure," I said, zipping my bag. "But just to be clear, friends don't split rent, fix cars, or buy groceries for each other. That was a relationship thing." Her jaw tightened. "You're being dramatic." I looked around at the half-decorated apartment, half mine, half hers, all pretentious. I thought about the rent she paid for independence and the electricity bill I covered every month she forgot. "Nah," I said. "I'm just being basic." Then I grabbed my keys and walked out. Good thing I'd already lined up a month-to-month studio a few blocks away. I'd seen this breakup coming weeks ago. As I walked to my truck, I could practically feel the silence behind me, that awkward, heavy air that follows someone who finally realizes they overplayed their hand. Claudia wanted freedom, independence, a life of passion and depth. I was happy to let her have all of it, every single inch. Turns out silence hurts people like Claudia more than any insult ever could. The next morning, my phone was already buzzing before I even finished brushing my teeth. She probably expected me to come crawling back with flowers, begging for another chance to be in her personal art school drama. Instead, I was loading the last of my boxes into my truck, sipping coffee, feeling lighter than I had in months. My new apartment wasn't fancy, but it was mine. No candles that smelled like sadness, no glitter in the sink, no one sighing because I used a regular mug instead of a hand-thrown artisan vessel. The next day, the voicemails started piling up again. Same script, different tone. You're being unfair. You just left me with everything. You're overreacting, Thomas. Can we please talk? No, we could not. I didn't respond. Not once. That silence started driving her nuts. Then came the random errands phase. She texted asking if I'd seen her charger, her mail, her extra blanket. Classic bait. Then she said the landlord needed my info for lease paperwork, which was hilarious since the lease was under her name. Independence, remember? One weekend, I was on the balcony tinkering with a small part I'd brought home. The heavy stuff stays at the shop, when I heard a knock at the door. My stomach immediately said, uh-oh, and I was right. Claudia stood there, sunglasses on indoors, looking like a mix of rage and fake calm. Next to her was Becky, her best friend, the human foghorn. Becky had that expression, like she was about to serve justice on behalf of womankind. Thomas, Claudia started, crossing her arms. We need to talk. No, you need to talk, I said, leaning on the doorframe. I'm good. Becky jumped in with full attitude. She's been crying for days. You just walked out without closure. Closure? I repeated. You mean me listening to another 20-minute speech about passion and depth? Claudia scoffed. You're still being immature. I'm trying to have a mature conversation, but you're acting like a child. Becky made a disgusted noise. Wow, so this is the real you. She said you were controlling. I raised an eyebrow. Controlling? Yeah, I remember the time I forced her to pay half the rent. Total dictatorship. Claudia shot Becky a look like don't ruin the plan, then turned on the guilt. You just walked out, Thomas. No warning. You left me with everything. Maybe next time, I said. Don't schedule your breakup like a press release. Becky scoffed again. She just wants peace. I smiled. Then maybe she should stop starting wars. She tried one more tactic. The soft, manipulative. I'm just being reasonable voice. We could still be friends. You don't have to be so cold. I tilted my head. Friends split bills, right? She frowned. What? No, friends don't. Exactly, I said, smiling. Becky's jaw dropped. Claudia looked stunned. I was done. I stepped back and nodded toward the hallway. Ladies, this conversation's been enlightening, but I've got some fixing waiting, and it's less complicated than this. Becky huffed, muttered something about toxic masculinity, and stomped off. Claudia followed, still fuming. She stopped halfway down the hall, turned around, and shouted, You'll regret this, Thomas. Doubt it, I said, closing the door. The moment that door shut, the peace came back like a wave. Just silence. The good kind. The kind where you can actually hear your own thoughts again. People like Claudia don't really want independence. They want control disguised as freedom. Once you stop playing along, they lose the power. They lose you. I leaned back, watching the faint glow of the city outside my window. For the first time in a long time, everything felt still. No noise, no chaos, just peace. She wanted freedom. I gave it to her. And apparently, she still didn't know what to do with it. A week of silence was all it took before Claudia started slipping back into her usual routine, pretending she's the victim and I'm her unpaid maintenance crew. The first call came at 9:42 p.m. I was elbow deep in an engine rebuild when my phone started lighting up. Claudia. I let it ring. 2 seconds later, another call, then a text. The power just went out. You need to come fix it. Not can you, not please, just a command. Like she was still the queen of my schedule. A minute later, another text. Don't ignore me, Thomas. You lived here. It's your responsibility. Yeah, because apparently the breaker box listens to me better than her. I wiped the grease off my hands, looked at my phone, and turned it face down on the workbench. Not my circus anymore. I didn't check my phone again until the next morning. 5 missed calls, 2 voicemails, and 1 dramatic text. You're heartless. I could have been electrocuted. I just muttered, maybe next time aim for the outlet, and went about my day. A few days later, she tried again. I don't have money for groceries this week. You should help since you know how expensive it is here, right? Because apparently post-breakup, alimony is part of friendship now. Then another round, my faucet's leaking. You at least owe me that much. Come fix it. Ignored. A day later, a voice note. My car is making this weird noise and you're the mechanic. Be a man for once and come fix it. I played the first 2 seconds, heard her tone, and deleted it. She didn't want help. She wanted control. That's what it had always been about. I realized then she didn't actually miss me. She missed the convenience of me. So I did the most mature thing I could think of, muted her everywhere. Calls still came through if I happened to be looking at the phone, but the notifications were gone. No more middle-of-the-night drama about light bulbs or destiny. Just silence. It drove her nuts. When you ignore someone like Claudia, it's like taking away their oxygen. I could almost picture her pacing, phone in hand, rehearsing new ways to get my attention. She'd probably even write it off as performance art. Meanwhile, I was doing great. Business was steady, I was sleeping better, eating actual meals instead of surviving on stress. I even started chatting with this girl Riley who worked at the cafe near my shop. I wasn't trying to date her, I was just enjoying being around someone who didn't suck the energy out of the room. Apparently that alone was enough to send Claudia into orbit. It started with a text from an unknown number. Wow, already moving on. Didn't take a genius to guess who it was. 10 minutes later, another. So, this is who you are now? Replace me with some cafe girl. That one made me laugh. I hadn't even told anyone about Riley, so clearly Claudia had been sniffing around. Then came the voicemail full of manic energy. You're disgusting, Thomas. I can't believe you'd move on this fast. We just broke up. You clearly never cared about me. I hope she realizes how fake you are. She ended it with a dramatic sniff like she was filming a sad movie. I played it twice, not for the message, for the entertainment value, then deleted it. The next morning, she escalated. I got a call from a mutual friend saying Claudia was telling people I was using women to get revenge. Real cinematic stuff. That afternoon, my phone buzzed again. This time I picked up. So it's true. You're dating that coffee girl? She snapped the second I said hello. I sighed. Claudia, I'm dating my peace of mind. She's beautiful and quiet. Don't be sarcastic, she yelled. You look pathetic, jumping from one girl to another. I'm not jumping, I said. You left. I just landed somewhere better. You're such a... I hung up. That night I sat on my balcony, coffee in hand, watching the city lights flicker. The air felt light, clean. My phone was quiet for once. Claudia wanted to control everything, even after walking away. But you can't guilt someone who's already free. A week of radio silence later, I got a text from Rose, our old neighbor. Your ex is throwing a new beginnings party tonight. This should be good. I actually laughed out loud. Only Claudia would celebrate a breakup like it was a career milestone. By the time I finished work, Rose texted again. Update, it blew up hard. I called her. She sounded half tired, half amused. Your ex just held the most chaotic party I've ever witnessed. It was supposed to be a fresh start, except half the people there showed up demanding their money back. Apparently Claudia had convinced people to invest in her art projects, promised to feature their names on some upcoming exhibit. No exhibit, no refunds. Someone filmed her yelling about being misunderstood while people booed her in her own apartment. Guess her independence has an invoice, I said, smirking. Rose chuckled. Freedom's expensive. I figured that would be the end of it. Nope. A couple days later, my sister Hannah called, sounding awkward. Hey, Thomas. I got a weird message from someone named Claudia. I almost choked laughing. She was asking family members to convince me to move back in with her for a while to save money. Emotional crowdfunding. By the end of that day, I'd heard from my mom, an old coworker, and a cousin, all saying some version of your ex reached out. She's trying to get you to call her. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just entitlement anymore. This was delusion. She actually thought she could guilt-trip my entire family into getting me back under her roof. That night, I blocked every number she'd ever used, plus Becky's, and a few mutual contacts who kept passing messages. I wasn't leaving any doors open. Claudia wasn't the kind of person who accepted consequences. She deflected them. When she ran out of people to blame, she started recycling old ones. But this time, I wasn't playing. After that stunt, I didn't hear from Claudia directly for a while, thank God. But Rose kept me updated. Claudia wasn't just crashing, she was doing it in style. A couple weeks later, Rose texted, You'll never guess who's living in your old apartment now. The photographer guy Claudia used to work with. The smug one with the beanie who called himself a visual storyteller. She'd been posting nonstop about their artistic collaboration and hashtag art couple goals. 3 weeks later, Rose called. "Your ex is losing it." The photographer had moved out, taking her TV and half her art supplies with him. He lived rent-free for a month, drained her account, and ghosted. She finally met her artistic equal. A few days after that, a regular at the shop showed me Claudia's art page. One of her original paintings was an exact copy of a piece done 3 years earlier by another artist. The internet caught it fast. Comments tore her apart. "Fake artist alert. You didn't even flip it. The only original thing about you is the audacity." She turned off comments, deleted half her posts, and went private. People who'd paid deposits for commission started demanding refunds. Some threatened small claims court. By week's end, Rose texted, "She's selling her stuff online. Says she's simplifying her life. Translation, she's broke." I replied, "Maybe she'll finally find that depth she keeps talking about, in debt." That piece lasted about 3 weeks. Then desperation became Claudia's new hobby. One evening, an unknown number called. Shaky voice. "Thomas, it's me. I'm behind on rent. My account's overdrawn. I just need help until I find a new roommate." I smiled. "Claudia, we're not together." "I know, but we're still friends, right? Friends don't pay each other's bills, remember?" Then I hung up. A few hours later, she took her meltdown public. A long Facebook post claiming I was a controlling narcissist who left her with nothing and even stole things when I moved out. Comments poured in with support until I posted receipts. Lease in her name, every bill I ever paid, screenshots of her begging for money after the breakup. 20 minutes later, the tide turned. People called her out. Someone wrote, "She's plagiarizing relationships now." She deleted everything, then reactivated with a vague quote about choosing peace. She'd crossed a line. I filed a defamation claim with all the evidence. My lawyer sent a cease and desist. She folded fast, paid my legal fees, and issued a written apology. A week later, on a Friday evening, someone started knocking slow, desperate knocks. When I opened the door, I barely recognized her. Claudia looked wrecked. Messy bun, dark circles, fake humility. "Thomas, can I come in? I don't know where else to go." I let her in out of curiosity. She cried about being evicted, sleeping on couches, parents cutting her off. "I miss you, Thomas. I miss my boyfriend. I miss feeling safe. Can't we just try again?" "No," I said. "You didn't miss me, Claudia. You missed stability." She left without another word. A week later, I found my restored Triumph motorbike keyed down both sides, tires slashed, mirrors cracked. Building security footage showed Claudia at 3:42 a.m. doing the damage. I filed for a restraining order. It was granted. Rose texted, "Congrats. You're officially her ghost." After that, things finally went quiet for good. No more calls, no more messages, no drama bleeding into my life. Just quiet, the kind you earn. Claudia wanted freedom. She got it, full dose, no safety net. And me? I got peace, the real kind you don't have to post about online. Engines make sense. You give them care, they run. You neglect them, they break. Simple as that. People like Claudia never learned that part. So I stopped trying to fix what didn't want fixing, and I never looked back.